3 years had passed since humanity withdrew from the peace talks. The Galaxy Council's central system was normally a calm place. Council ships patrolled its borders, and the great space station at its heart represented thousands of years of galactic order. But today was different. On the edge of the system, a fleet of unknown ships appeared suddenly. They seemed to materialize from empty space, their dark hulls absorbing light, rather than reflecting it. Leading this armada was the largest vessel, marked with the letters TSS Defiance. On the bridge of the Defiance stood Admiral G-Ho Park. Once he had been a simple security commander for Earth's diplomatic team. Now he led the most powerful fleet humans had ever built. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Communications Officer Yoon Hee Nam. She was young but highly skilled, with quick hands that moved confidently over her control panel. "Transmission. From the Council Station," she added. "They are demanding our immediate withdrawal from their space." Admiral Park smiled slightly. "Send our response." On the Council Station, the emergency session had turned to chaos. Representatives from dozens of worlds crowded the Grand Chamber, which was never designed to hold so many at once. The main screen showed the approaching fleet, and fear filled the room. "How many ships?" demanded High Counselor Tarek, his blue skin pale with worry. "Over 200 in this fleet alone," replied Defense Minister Zorn. "And our long-range sensors detect at least 3 more fleets of similar size in nearby systems." "Impossible," muttered Tarek. "The humans could not have built so many advanced vessels in just 3 years. They didn't build them alone," said Counselor Minji Lee. "The Alliance pooled their resources and knowledge. What no single species could achieve, they accomplished together." The main screen changed. Instead of showing the approaching fleet, it now displayed a holographic image. Ambassador Hana Kim stood in the center, her face calm but determined. Around her were representatives from 23 different species, most of which had once been considered minor powers by the Council. "Honorable Council," Hana began, though her tone suggested she found little honor in the group before her. "We come not to wage war, but to announce the formal establishment of the Sovereign Systems Alliance as a galactic power equal to the Council. We do not seek your permission or approval, merely your acknowledgement of reality." The chamber fell, silent. Even Tarek, usually quick with angry words, said nothing. "For too long the Council has ruled through division and control," Hana continued. "You kept species separated, playing them against each other while taking their resources and limiting their growth. That era is now over." On the Defiance, Admiral Park watched the transmission with satisfaction. Before coming to the Council system, Alliance fleets had spread throughout Council space. They did not attack or threaten. They simply positioned themselves to demonstrate that the old order could no longer enforce its will. "The entire Council is watching," said Captain Dongwu Lee, standing beside Admiral Park. "Do you think they will accept our terms?" "They have no choice," replied Admiral Park. "Their military is spread too thin, and half their supply chains have collapsed. Without human innovation and the resources of our allies, they can barely maintain their current systems." Back on the Council Station, Ambassador Hana was explaining the Alliance's terms. First, the Council will recognize the Sovereign Systems Alliance as an equal power in the galaxy. Second, all species currently under Council control may freely choose to remain or to join the Alliance. Third, fair trade agreements will be established between our peoples. Fourth, reparations will be paid to species whose worlds have been exploited without fair compensation. "This is outrageous," Tarek finally managed to say. "You cannot dictate terms to the Galaxy Council. We have maintained order for thousands of years." "Your version of order," Hana replied calmly. "One that benefited the founding races while keeping others subservient. That is not order. It is oppression dressed up as tradition." Counselor Minji stood up. "I move that we accept the Alliance's terms. They are fair and we are in no position to refuse." "Traitor," hissed Tarek. "Realist," Minji corrected him. "Look around you, High Counselor. The galaxy has changed. We can change with it or we can be left behind." One by one, Other council members began to voice their support for Minji's position. Even some of the founding races, seeing the power that now faced them, recognized that resistance was futile. After hours of heated debate, a vote was called. The result surprised even the most optimistic alliance members watching from their ships: complete acceptance of all terms. On the Defiance, Admiral Park received the news with a mixture of relief and pride. He had prepared for war while hoping for peace. Now it seemed peace would prevail. Chief Engineer Jimin Yoon approached him on the bridge. "Was this always the plan?" she asked quietly. "Even during those 20 years of talks that seemed to go nowhere?" Admiral Park looked out at the stars, now seeing them from a position of strength rather than the weakness the Council had always assumed. "Humanity truly tried the path of peaceful integration first," he replied. "We wanted to join the galactic community as equals, but we always prepared for the possibility that the only language the Council would respect was strength." He turned to look at the young engineer whose brilliant mind had helped design the very ship they stood on. "Sometimes you must withdraw to advance," he said. "It's an old strategy in many human games. You appear to retreat, letting your opponent grow confident. Then, when they least expect it, you return with your true strength." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy witnessed a transformation unlike any in recorded history. The Sovereign Systems Alliance established its headquarters on a newly constructed space station at the crossroads of several major trade routes. Unlike the Council Station, this one was designed with areas reflecting the cultures of all member species, giving each a place of honor. Trade routes reopened, but with new rules ensuring fair treatment for all parties. Planets that had been heavily exploited began receiving the promised reparations, allowing them to rebuild and grow. Most surprising to the Council, 17 of their member worlds voted to leave and join the Alliance. 6 months after the confrontation, at the Council system, Ambassador Hana Kim and Admiral Jiho Park stood together on a balcony overlooking the main hall of the Alliance station. Below them, representatives from dozens of species mingled freely, discussing trade, cultural exchange, and joint scientific ventures. "Do you think it will last?" asked Jiho. Hana watched the diverse gathering with thoughtful eyes. "Nothing lasts forever, but we've built something based on respect rather than fear, on cooperation rather than control. That gives it a stronger foundation than what came before." "The Council still exists," Jiho pointed out. "As it should," Hana replied. "Some species prefer their traditions and stability. We didn't set out to destroy the Council, only to create a better alternative and force them to treat others fairly." Jiho nodded slowly. 20 years of patience, 3 years of preparation, and finally, a new beginning. "The Council's greatest mistake wasn't treating us poorly," Hana said. "It was assuming that our desire for peace meant we were incapable of anything else. They never understood that humans can be both peaceful and powerful." As the two humans looked out over the new galactic order they had helped create, ships from 100 worlds passed by the great windows of the station. Among them were vessels from both Council and Alliance space, now trading and communicating as equals. The humans had withdrawn from peace talks not to start a war, but to build a true peace. It had taken the Galaxy Council's mistake to make it possible. 1 year had passed since humanity's departure from the Galaxy Council. The Grand Chamber where the Council met was no longer a place of calm discussion. Today, it was filled with angry voices and worried faces. "Silence," called High Counselor Tarek, his 4 blue arms raised high. "We must discuss these matters with dignity." The room gradually grew quiet, but the tension remained. Around the large round table sat representatives from all 7 founding species of the Galaxy Council. Their faces showed different emotions, but worry was common to all. Counselor Zhang of the Selfori Collective stood up. Her scale-covered body, usually shining with bright colors, looked dull today. The Selfori were known for showing their emotions through color changes, and the gray-green of her scales spoke of deep concern. "The situation is becoming impossible to manage," she declared. 17 critical medical supply chains have broken down completely. Without the specialized equipment, that only humans can make. Our hospitals cannot treat many diseases. The humans are clearly causing this crisis on purpose, said High Counselor Tarek. They want to force us to give them more than they deserve. They have caused nothing, interrupted Counselor Minji Lee of the Araxian Federation. She stood up, her golden eyes flashing with anger. They have simply removed themselves from a system that used them while giving little in return. The crisis shows how much we came to depend on their ideas and work, while treating them as lesser beings. The Araxians have always been too friendly with humans, muttered Counselor Zek of the Vraxian hive. His insect-like head turned toward Minji with obvious dislike. Perhaps that is why our worlds are suffering less than yours, Minji replied sharply. We treated humans as equals and learned from them, rather than just taking what they offered. Before the argument could continue, the main doors of the chamber opened. Chief Intelligence Officer Vren hurried in, a datapad clutched in his thin hands. Vren was from a minor council race, the Takari, who specialized in gathering and analyzing information. High Counselor, I bring urgent news, Vren said, bowing quickly. Speak, ordered Tarek. We have confirmed reports that the humans have established a new alliance, Vren reported. They call it the Sovereign Systems Alliance. Our sources indicate that 17 non-council species have already joined. The room erupted in shocked voices. 17 species was a significant portion of the known intelligent races in the galaxy. Impossible, said Counselor Zek. The minor races would not dare unite against the council. They would if they believed they could win, said Minji quietly, but everyone heard her. What else do we know about this alliance? And asked Counselor Zhang. Vren looked down at his datapad. They have established their headquarters in what was formerly contested space along the outer rim. They have been building up military forces. Most concerning, they appear to have developed new technology that our sensors cannot properly track. Which species have joined them? Asked Tarek, his voice hard. The Valerians, Nyrox, and Zentari were the first to ally with humans, Vren replied. Since then, the Thoraxians, Pel Collective, Delvians, and several others have joined. More seem to be considering it. The council members looked at each other with growing alarm. Each of the named species had unique skills or resources that made them valuable. We are facing a major shift in galactic power, said Minji, one that could have been avoided if we had simply treated humans fairly from the beginning. What would you have us do? Demanded Tarek. Give humans equal status with races that have been part of galactic civilization for thousands of years? They are barely out of their Stone Age. And yet, Minji replied calmly, they have managed to unite 17 species against us in just 1 year. Perhaps we should reconsider our view of their abilities. In another part of the council station, Senior Delegate Sun Woo Choi sat in his small office. As the only human representative who had remained after the withdrawal, his position was unusual. He was no longer part of official meetings but was allowed to stay as an observer. His communication device chimed, and he answered it. The face of Ambassador Hana Kim appeared on the screen. Sun Woo, she greeted him. How are things on the station? Increasingly chaotic, he replied with a small smile. The council is finally realizing that something important has changed. Today they learned about the alliance. Hana nodded. It was time for them to know. Phase 1 is complete. All our people are safe, all our allies are secured, and all our new ships are ready. What happens in Phase 2? Asked Sun Woo. We make our formal announcement to the galaxy, Hana said. Admiral Song's fleet will take up positions throughout key systems. Not to attack, but to demonstrate our new reality. The Council will not accept this easily, Sun Woo warned. Especially the Loxari. They have ruled for too long to give up power without a fight. We do not want a fight, Hana replied. But we are ready for one if necessary. After the communication ended, Sun Woo looked out his window at the stars. How strange that he, once a minor diplomatic assistant, was now the only human witness to the Council's growing panic. He wondered what they would do when they realized how completely they had underestimated humanity. 2 days later, the Council called an emergency session. Reports were flooding in from across Council space. Strange ships had been spotted near. Important trade routes. Planets that had once been under Council control were declaring independence and joining the new alliance. 3 minor Council races were threatening to leave and join the humans. "We must take action," declared High Counselor Tarek. "We cannot allow this rebellion to continue." "What do you suggest?" asked Counselor Zhang. "Military action? Against whom? The humans have no central planet for us to threaten. Their allies are spread across the galaxy, and our own worlds are already suffering from supply shortages." "Then we must negotiate," said Counselor Minji. "Admit our mistake and try to find a peaceful solution." The room fell silent. For the proud Council races, especially the Loxari, admitting a mistake was almost unthinkable. Finally, Tarek spoke. "Perhaps a small delegation could be sent to Earth, not to apologize, of course, but to discuss humanity's return to galactic society." "I will prepare the delegation," said Minji quickly, before anyone could object. When the carefully worded message was sent to Earth, requesting a meeting to discuss future relations, the response was unexpected. Instead of an eager acceptance, there was silence. Complete silence. All channels to human space, once open despite tensions, were now closed. The delegation departed anyway, hoping to establish contact once they reached the Sol system. 3 weeks later, they returned with disturbing news. They had been met at the edge of human space by ships unlike any they had seen before. Dark, powerful, vessels that barely registered on their sensors until they were surrounded. The message from these ships was simple. The time for negotiation has passed. The time for recognition has begun. On the Council station, High Counselor Tarek stared out into space from his private chamber. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear. Not just for his position or his power, but for the future of the galactic order that had existed for thousands of years. "What have we done?" he whispered to himself. "What have we created?" The answer was forming at the edges of Council space as ships gathered and alliances strengthened. The humans had not withdrawn to hide or sulk. They had withdrawn to build something new. And now they were returning. 6 months had passed since humanity withdrew from the Galaxy Council. Deep inside an asteroid that had been hollowed out and turned into a military base, Admiral Taewan Song stood before a large table. Above the table, blue lights formed moving, images of stars, planets, and ships. The asteroid base had become Earth's main military headquarters. Hidden in a dense field of similar rocks, it was nearly impossible to find unless you knew exactly where to look. "Show me the current status of Operation Silent Shield," Admiral Song ordered. The holographic display changed, showing hundreds of green dots moving across the galaxy map. Colonel Yunji Kang stepped forward. She was in charge of planning all major military operations, and her sharp mind had helped design much of humanity's secret strategy. "Operation Silent Shield is moving faster than we expected," she reported. "All human outposts in disputed areas have been successfully moved. Our people are now safely within our protected space." Admiral Song nodded, his serious face showing rare satisfaction. "And our allies?" Colonel Kang touched a control panel, and new colors appeared on the map. Yellow for the Valerians, blue for the Nyrox, and red for the Zentari. "The Valerians, Nyrox, and Zentari have all officially signed our defense agreement," she said. "They have begun moving their own people to safer areas, away from Council influence. The 3 alien species had all suffered under the Council's rule. The Valerians, with their plant-like bodies, controlled worlds rich in rare minerals, but the Council took most of their resources. The Nyrox, who looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin, had amazing energy technology, but the Council limited what they could build. The Zentari, short and sturdy with 4 eyes, had developed the best shield technology in the galaxy, but were forced to share it with the Council while getting little in return. "They are taking a great risk by joining us," Admiral Song said quietly. "They believe it is worth the risk," Colonel Kang replied. 20 years of watching how the Council treated us convinced them that things will never improve unless someone forces change." Admiral Song turned to another person in the room. "Chief Engineer Yoon, What is the status of Project Nova? Chief. Engineer Jimin Yoon was younger than most of the other leaders, but her brilliant mind had revolutionized human spaceship design. She touched another control, and the hologram changed to show a new type of ship. It was sleek and dark, with strange patterns across its hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Project Nova is complete, Admiral, she said with pride. The shield technology we adapted from Zentari designs, combined with our new quantum weapons, has produced vessels unlike anything the Council has ever seen. Have they been tested in combat? Asked Admiral Song. Not yet, Chief Engineer Yoon admitted, but our simulations show they are at least 3 times more powerful than Council warships, and the stealth systems make them nearly impossible to detect until they want to be seen. Admiral Song studied the ship design with a critical eye. How many are ready? 50 are fully operational, Chief Engineer Yoon replied. Another 100 will be ready within 2 months. The shipyards on Europa and Mars are working around the clock. On the other side of the room, Intelligence Director Jun-Ho Lee cleared his throat. Admiral, you should know that the Council has begun to notice the absence of our ships and people. I expected they would eventually, Admiral Song said. What are they doing about it? Intelligence Director Lee adjusted his glasses. Very little, so far. Their arrogance blinds them. They think we are simply hiding out of fear or shame. Good, Admiral Song nodded. The longer they believe that, the better. There is something else, Intelligence Director Lee continued. Our agents report that several Council worlds are experiencing difficulties. What kind of difficulties? Asked Colonel Kang Tar. Intelligence Director Lee smiled slightly. It seems that without human engineers to maintain certain systems, things are starting to break down. The Loxari industrial planets are having cooling system failures. 3 major medical supply chains have collapsed without the specialized components only Earth manufactures. We did not plan this, Admiral Song said thoughtfully. But it is not surprising. For 20 years, they took our innovations while treating us like children. Now they discover how much they came to rely on us. Should we offer assistance? Asked Chief Engineer Yoon. There could be innocent people suffering. Admiral Song shook his head. Not yet. This is part of the process. The Council needs to understand what they have lost. Later that day, Admiral Song met with Ambassador Hana Kim in a small meeting room. The walls were plain metal with only a simple table and chairs inside. The military preparations are proceeding well, Admiral Song told her. But I am more interested in your diplomatic efforts. Have you made progress with the Outer Rim worlds? Ambassador Kim nodded. Her face showed the tiredness of someone who had been working without rest for months, but her eyes were bright with purpose. Better than we hoped, she replied. 7 more species have asked to join our alliance. They have all suffered under Council rule for centuries. Will they bring anything useful to our cause? Asked Admiral Song. As a military man, he always thought in terms of strength and advantage. The Thoraxians have the largest merchant fleet in the Outer Rim, Ambassador Kim said. The Pell Collective has unique biotechnology. The Delvians are the best navigators in known space. Each brings something valuable. And what do they want in return? Admiral Song asked suspiciously. Ambassador Kim smiled. The same thing we want. A fair place in the galaxy. Protection from Council bullying. The right to develop their own worlds and keep the benefits of their own work. Admiral Song nodded slowly. Simple wishes, but powerful ones. There is something else you should know, Ambassador Kim said, her face growing more serious. We have received a message from Counselor Min-Ji Lee. Admiral Song raised his eyebrows in surprise. Min-Ji Lee was the Araxian representative on the Galaxy Council, and had always been more sympathetic to humans than the other Council members. What did she say? The Council is starting to worry, Ambassador Kim replied. Not enough to admit their mistake yet, but some of the smaller Council races are feeling the pressure. Supply shortages are getting worse. The Loxari are blaming everyone but themselves. Good, said Admiral Song. Let them worry. Let them feel what it's like to be ignored and dismissed. Ambassador Kim studied him for a moment. This isn't about Revenge, Taewan. We can't build a better future on bitterness. Admiral Song sighed. He and Hana had been friends for many years, and she was one of the few people who called him by his first name. I know, he admitted. But after 20 years of watching them look down on us while taking everything we offered, it is hard not to enjoy their discomfort a little. Ambassador Kim smiled gently. Just remember what we're really fighting for, not to replace the council with our own version of the same thing, but to create something better, something fair. Admiral Song nodded. You're right, as always. He stood up and walked to a small window that looked out into space. How long, do you think, before they realize what's really happening? The smart ones already suspect, Ambassador Kim replied. The proud ones may never admit it. But soon, they will have no choice but to see the truth. As human ships continued to disappear from Council space and as more alien species quietly joined the growing alliance, the foundation of galactic power began to shift. The humans had not withdrawn to hide. They had withdrawn to build something new, and when they were ready, the entire galaxy would know it. High Counselor Tarek of the Loxari Imperium raised his large golden cup in celebration. His forearms moved in perfect harmony as he took a drink. The sweet blue liquid inside matched the color of his scaly skin. Behind him, the main screen of the Galaxy Council station showed the Terran ship disappearing into the darkness of space. Finally, he said to the other council members who had gathered in the grand chamber, the troublesome humans run back to their small corner of the galaxy. The grand chamber was an impressive room. Its high ceiling was covered with moving images of stars and planets. The walls were made of rare metals from 100 worlds. 7 large chairs sat on a raised platform at the front of the room, one for each of the founding species of the Galaxy Council. Most of the aliens in the room shared Tarek's feelings about humans. They thought of them as a young, unimportant species. After all, humans had only figured out how to travel faster than light 50 years ago. The other council races had been doing it for thousands of years. You seem happy, High Counselor, said a calm voice from behind him. Tarek turned to see Senior Delegate Sun Woo Choi, the only human representative who had chosen to stay behind. Sun Woo was tall for a human, with sharp eyes that seemed to see more than they should. Your species was never ready for true galactic citizenship, Tarek replied. His upper arms crossed over his chest while his lower hands rested on his belt. Your resources will be better used under proper guidance. Sun Woo just smiled. There's an old human saying about counting eggs before they hatch. Tarek did not understand the strange human phrase, but he did not care enough to ask what it meant. He simply turned away to speak with the Selphori ambassador, whose shining scales reflected the room's bright lights. From across the room, Counselor Minji Lee of the Araxian Federation watched this exchange with concern. The Araxians looked almost human, except for their golden eyes and the slight ridge of bone that ran from their foreheads to the backs of their necks. They had always been more friendly toward humanity than the other council races. Minji waited until Tarek had moved away before approaching Sun Woo. The council has made a serious mistake, she said quietly. They think human patience means weakness. Indeed, Sun Woo replied, and now we will see what happens when that patience ends. Minji looked troubled. I tried to warn them. Humans are adaptable, creative. In just 50 years, you went from primitive space travel to building ships that can cross the galaxy. No other species has developed so quickly. Your warnings fell on deaf ears, I see, Sun Woo said. The older races are set in their ways, Minji sighed. They cannot imagine any path but the one they have always known. As they spoke, council, workers were already changing the large map of the galaxy that covered one wall of the chamber. The human-controlled systems were being marked with new colors, showing how they would be divided among the other races. They are already dividing our worlds, Sun Woo noted, his voice calm despite the insult. Will you really leave? Minji asked. All human settlements? All your trading posts? Sun Woo simply smiled again. Time will tell, Counselor. Time will tell. In the weeks that followed, the council went about its normal business. Few members noticed that human trading ships were slowly disappearing from their usual routes. Even fewer paid attention to the quiet evacuation of human settlements from contested worlds. Almost no one noticed that several smaller, non-council species were also becoming less visible in council space. 1 month after the humans announced their withdrawal, Chief Trade Officer Junseo Kim of the Council Economic Division prepared a report. He was worried about some strange patterns he had noticed. "High Counselor," Junseo said, standing nervously before Tarek and the other 6 founding members, "I need to bring something to your attention." "Speak quickly," Tarek ordered. "We have many important matters to discuss today." Junseo placed a datapad on the table. Human trade ships have reduced their activity by 87% in the past month. This is affecting supply chains in several sectors. Counselor Zek of the Vraxian Hive waved a dismissive hand. "The humans are just trying to pressure us. They will return when their economies start to suffer." "That is what concerns me," Junseo continued. "Their economies do not appear to be suffering. They have redirected their trade to their own colonies, and to several of the Outer Rim species." "The Outer Rim is of no importance," said Tarek. "Those species barely have the technology to maintain their own planets, let alone form meaningful trade partnerships." Junseo wanted to argue, but he knew better than to challenge the High Counselor directly. "There is one more thing. Certain specialized products that only humans manufacture are becoming scarce." "Like what?" asked Counselor Zhang of the Selfori. "The, cooling systems for your heavy industrial plants, for one," Junseo replied. "The design is human, and replacement parts are no longer being delivered." "We can make our own cooling systems," Counselor Zhang said, but she sounded uncertain. "Of course," Junseo agreed quickly. "It will just take time to develop new designs." Later that day, Junseo met with Minji in a quiet corner of the station's garden area. Small floating lights moved between exotic plants from 100 worlds, creating a peaceful atmosphere that did not match their troubled conversation. "The council is ignoring the warning signs," Junseo said. "The humans are not just withdrawing, they are preparing for something." Minji nodded. "I have received reports from my sources. The humans have been building up their military forces for years, right under our noses. The ships they showed us in the diplomatic meetings were not their best technology." "Is war coming?" Junseo asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I do not think so," Minji replied. "Humans value peace, but they also value respect. The Council has given them none." "What can we do?" "Watch and wait," Minji said, "and perhaps prepare for the day when the Council realizes its mistake." 3 months after the human withdrawal, strange reports began coming in from the outer edges of Council space. Small, fast ships of unknown design had been spotted near former human outposts. These ships did not respond to Council communications and disappeared when approached. In the Council Emergency Response Center, analyst Tai-Ho Ryu prepared a briefing for the Security Council. "We believe these are human scout ships," he explained, showing images of sleek vessels that looked nothing like known human designs. "But they have advanced stealth technology we have not seen before." "Impossible," said Security Chief Vrex of the Loxari. "Humans do not have such technology." "With respect, sir," Tai-Ho said carefully, "we do not know what technology the humans have been developing while they smiled and nodded at our peace talks." "Where are they getting these advancements?" demanded Vrex. Tai-Ho hesitated before answering. "We have evidence that they may have formed alliances with the Valerians, the Nyrox, and possibly the Zentari." The room went silent. These 3 species, while not powerful enough to join the Council, each had unique technological specialties that the Council had tried to control for centuries. Those minor species would not dare ally themselves against the Council, Vrex finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. 6 months after the humans left, High Counselor Tarek stood at the window of his private chamber, looking out at the stars. His confident mood from the day of the human withdrawal was gone. Now his 4 hands fidgeted nervously as he read report after report of systems failing, supplies running short, and strange ships appearing at the edges of Council space. "Perhaps," he muttered to himself. We were too quick to dismiss the humans. But his pride would not let him admit this to the council. Not yet, not until he was forced to. By then, it might already be too late. Commander Ji-Ho Park stood at the large window of the Terran diplomatic ship. His dark eyes watched as the ship moved away from the huge Galaxy Council space station. The stars seemed cold and distant, much like the alien races they had spent the last 20 years trying to work with. 20 years. 2 decades of talks, giving up things and being patient. All for nothing. Ji-Ho ran a hand through his short black hair and took a deep breath. As the head of Earth's security team for these peace talks, he had seen how the Council really felt about humans. They smiled with their strange mouths and spoke nice words, but their eyes, or whatever they used for seeing, held only scorn. Status. Report, said a calm voice behind him. Ji-Ho turned to face Ambassador Hana Kim. She was a small woman, but her presence always seemed to fill any room she entered. Today, her normally peaceful face looked hard and determined. All our people are on board, Ambassador. We have started leaving. We will be out of Council space in about 3 days, Ji-Ho replied. Hana nodded. Her hands were clasped tightly in front of her, the only sign of her anger. They went too far this time. Ji-Ho agreed. The Council's latest demands were impossible to accept. They wanted to limit humans to only 3 star systems for expansion. At the same time, they gave the Loxari Imperium, a race of tall, 4-armed beings with a history of taking over other planets, rights to 15 systems right next to Earth's home area. Send the formal message, Hana ordered. Humanity will no longer take part in these talks. She almost spat the last word. Ji-Ho turned to his control panel and pressed a series of buttons. The message they had prepared was short. To the Galaxy. Council. After 20 years of seeking fair treatment and peaceful integration, Earth and all human colonies hereby withdraw from all negotiations. We will no longer participate in a process that disrespects our sovereignty and treats humanity as lesser beings. This decision is final. The message went out, traveling faster than light to all Council worlds and member species. It's done, Ji-Ho said. Hana's shoulders dropped slightly as if a weight had been lifted. Inform all human ships and colonies. Operation Quiet Leave begins now. Ji-Ho nodded and relayed the orders. Across Council space, human ships would now start heading home. Human outposts on shared worlds would pack up. The withdrawal they had been secretly planning for 5 years was now in motion. Do you think they'll try to stop us? Asked Ji-Ho. Hana laughed, but there was no humor in it. They're too busy celebrating what they think is our surrender. By the time they realize what's really happening, we'll be gone. The ship's captain, Dongwoo Lee, entered the command room. He was older than both Ji-Ho and Hana, with gray streaks in his hair and lines around his eyes from years of space travel. Ambassador, Commander, he greeted them with a small bow. All systems are running properly. We've plotted a course that avoids the main travel lanes. We should reach Earth without any Council interference. Thank you, Captain, said Hana. Please, join us. We have much to discuss. The 3 of them moved to a small table in the corner of the room. Captain Lee pressed a button, and a blue light scanned the area for listening devices. When it turned green, they knew they could speak freely. Is everything ready back home? Asked Captain Lee. Hana nodded. For the past 10 years, while I've been smiling at Council meetings and pretending to accept their terms, Earth has been preparing. The new fleet is almost complete. The defense systems are operational, and our new friends are ready to announce their alliance with us. The Council thinks we're leaving with our tails between our legs, said Ji-Ho. They have no idea what's coming. What the Council didn't know, what humanity had hidden from them, was that Earth hadn't spent 20 years just talking. They had been learning, building, and making friends with smaller alien species who had also been treated poorly by the Council. The Valerians, with their amazing ability to grow living technology. The Nyrox, masters of energy manipulation. The Zentari, whose understanding of shield technology was unmatched. All of them had suffered under Council rule, and all of them had secretly agreed to stand with humanity. "How long before the Council realizes they've made a mistake?" asked Captain Lee. "They'll notice the economic impact first," said Hana. "Human innovation has become essential to many Council technologies. Without our engineers and scientists, certain systems will start to fail within months." "And our new ships?" asked Jiho. "Admiral Song reports that the first 100 vessels of the Nova class will be ready within 6 months," Hana replied. "The Zentari shield technology combined with our weapon systems makes them 3 times more powerful than anything the Council has." The ship shuddered slightly as it entered hyperspace. On a large screen on the wall, the Galaxy Council station grew smaller and then disappeared as they left normal space behind. 20 years, muttered Jiho. 20 years of being looked down on, of being treated like children who don't deserve a real place at the table. "They thought we were weak because we wanted peace," said Hana. "Because we kept trying to work things out through talking instead of fighting. A common mistake throughout human history," said Captain Lee. "Confusing the desire for peace with the inability to wage war." The 3 fell silent for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Then a light flashed on Jiho's wrist device. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth," he said, pressing a button to accept it. The face of General Minsu Kang appeared on the screen. He was the head of Earth's defense forces and had been one of the main planners of their secret preparations. "Ambassador Kim," he greeted Hana. "Is it done?" "Yes, General," she replied. "We have officially withdrawn from the peace talks." "Good," said General Kang. "The Council's observer on Earth is already demanding explanations. I've told him that our decision is final and that all Council representatives have 1 week to leave Earth and human colonies." "How did he take it?" asked Jiho. "He laughed," said General Kang, his face growing hard. "He actually laughed and said that we would come crawling back when we realized we couldn't survive without Council protection and trade." "They still don't understand us at all," said Hana. "No," agreed General Kang, "but they will. Return home safely, Ambassador. The real work is about to begin." The transmission ended, and the 3 humans looked at each other. There was tension in the air, but also a sense of relief and purpose. "I should check on our passengers," said Jiho. "Some of our diplomats have spent years on that station. Coming home might be a difficult adjustment." "Go ahead, Commander," said Hana. "Captain Lee and I will review the next phases of the operation." As Jiho left the command room, he felt lighter than he had in years. No more pretending. No more accepting insults with a smile. No more watching humanity beg for scraps from the Council table. The stars streaked by outside as the ship raced toward Earth. 20 years of patience had ended today. Now the Council would learn what humanity was, really capable of.